Hey brothers, and welcome to the third part of the AVICII producing series, and basically the final part for this song, where I will go through the build-up and the drop, which is the funny part, and the part that actually brings the song together. You guys know the drill. The FLP to this project is listed in the description, as well as the link to the original song, which is Legend is Born. If you have not checked it out yet, please do, to get more understanding of the track itself. And worth saying is that in the next upcoming episode, I will go through some of my mixing techniques and when it comes to what effects I use, and you don't want to miss that, because that is 50% of the song at least. So, what we did in the latest episode was going through the pre-chorus and what chords and elements we had, and basically what I thought is that we should do the same for the build-up. So I will go through the build-up and everything there, then I will go through the drop and everything there. So usually I'll start with the piano, just as for the other episodes. In this case, we have 3 pianos we're working with, and it's the same as in the pre-chorus. The first one sounds like this. We have the lower note here, and then we have a chord that responds to the lower note. So we get this do sound. So if I would use only the chorus, then it would be a bit flat, I'd say, and more straightforward. It would not be this rhythmic sound. So that's what I decided to do with the first piano, as well as the second one. It sounds like this. This piano, as I've told you before, has a bit more character, so what I did was I put it 1 octave up, and what this does is basically it brings away the mushy notes down in the lower octaves, and it plays along really good with the first piano, and these two together sounds like this. 2 really Tim vibey pianos that he has used in every one of his tracks. And then the third piano here is a bit different. It sounds like this. And it plays only the chords, and that's what I was talking about. If every piano would play only the chords, it would get so boring and so like unrhythmic, if you can say it like that. But in this case, we only have 1 piano that plays it like this, and when we put it a bit lower, in comparison with the other one, we get this type of feeling. So you can't really tell that there's 1 piano playing just the chords, but it is there, because if we were to take it away, it would get a bit empty. So that's the effect that I wanted to get. And that is the piano. Then we have the lead. And for the lead, I have a low-pass filter that opens up. And we can go through the lead and listen how it sounds. It sounds like this. We have only 1 sound, actually. I will come to my thought about this in a while. But for this, we only have 1 sound. And it has a low-pass filter, which opens up throughout the build-up. It starts down here. The background to then evolve into this. Just a regular, like, Tim effect that he has used in many songs. And then we have the guitar here. Just a regular guitar that plays along with the piano and the lead throughout the build-up. Not too complicated, I'd say. And that should be it for the instruments. It is not too complicated. Then for the percussions and all that stuff, we can start with this one. Just a regular tambourine stacked with a ride. So 2 sort of treble sounds that plays along very well together. It gets this like crispy sound that you want to achieve. And then we have the regular explosion. Almost mandatory for all Tim tracks, sort of. And then we have the rise up here. That rises up. And And that's a very important thing as well, that makes the Tim track sort of Tim. And all the samples are available when you buy the FLP if you are curious about them. And then we have the swell after half of the build-up, together with a sweep. And they finish off just here before the drop. And then this one just a reverse crash. And that should be it for what we have in the build-up. Now we come to a very important thing here. What I did was a really authentic Tim style effect, and it is that the instruments turns into this huge reverb together with a high pass filter to then evolve into the regular sounding just before the drop hits. I can show you here before. If you paid attention, you can hear that all the sounds sort of disappears into the background, and then they comes back, and together with that sweep I mentioned, it completes the entire effect. I will show you here for the lead. Sounds like this. Yeah. And for the piano. And for the guitar. So you can tell that there's one high pass filter, and then we have the reverb together. And then that it goes back to the original sounding here just before the drop hits, and that's very important to complete it, everything. And when it goes back, that's where the sweep stops. So then it just wraps everything together and makes it ready for the drop. Very important thing, keep that in mind if you want to get it sounding like Tim. Try to use that effect, it's a very great tool. And then we have the drop here, which is very important. We will go from the start. We can start with the piano. The piano is just the same as in the build-up. I don't really need to go through them because you know how they look and how they sound. The lead is the same. Only one sound. I've added a bass line here, which is important. Like there is no complete song without the bass, obviously. We have two basses. The first one is a low cut to the bass to give space for the sub bass. So together we have a decent sort of Tim soundy bass. Of course you could add more bass sounds to get another character, but in this case this song is quite flat. I wanted to have a flat bass as well, and that's why I decided to keep just a long note. I did not chop the bass up into notes following the chords. I decided to just have a long note here. And then we have down here another stack of chords. And why is that? Well, in this case we have the treble sounds, and I wanted to fill up the entire audio spectrum because I felt that there was something missing after I've added the guitar and the piano, because the guitar and piano mostly play for the middle part of the EQ spectrum if you want to lay it up like that. So basically we have the first one, and we have the second one, and together this sounds like this. Really good, works along together with this sound, which is a bit important as well. And what is this? Well, this is basically a saw lead or a disc lead, what you want to call it, I don't care. And it follows the bass line, but it's moved up 1 or 2 octaves to get this sort of upfilling feeling as well. I did not want this as a bass line, but I've studied some of Tim's track and could tell that some of his songs includes sounds such as this one that follows the bass but not down in the bass notes. It is more up, and it makes the entire song more complete. In this case, I have 2 octaves of the same sound. The lower octaves is a bit lower though, to not take over too much of the sound. So that fills up the entire song, as I told you, and then we have the guitar. Just as in the build-up. But for this last chord of every guitar, I added a lower octave as well. Why is that? Well, the last chord of the guitar is so high that if I were to just keep 1 octave, it would be too empty and too thin. So that's why I added another octave down here. So you can tell that it's not too thin. Plays an important role, it does its thing. We have a regular white noise that plays throughout the entire drop, because then when the down filters finishes, then the white noise keeps playing. So we always have some white noise there, which is also very important if we want this punchy Tim vibey thing. I'll go through like the kick, tambourine. We have as well of course we have down filters and effects here. I will just put them on. But what I did here between the build-up and the drop is a cool sort of as well AVICII vibey effect. And what I did was I let the crash hit before the first kick hits, together with a sort of high bass drop here. And the bass drop is basically a octave, a 3 times oscillator. I've used a regular oscillator with a slide note, and when this hits together with the crash, it gets this really punchy style. You can tell it hits before, and then the kick hits together with the down filters. We have the crash, the bass drop, then the kick hits together with the down filters, and it completes the entire track basically. We have some elements left that I haven't gone through. For example, this one. That just fills up the spectrum here, together with the tambourine. And this one. So these 3 together sounds like this. It's there, it does its thing, and especially this ride down here plays along with the white noise here. I don't know if you can tell, but when, of course, the sidechain, the white noise, but when the sidechain, when it's at its peak, this ride plays along with it. So it makes the entire white noise more crispy, and that's what I wanted to achieve. And that is basically what's in the drop for the first part. Then after half of the drop, what happens is that there is another sound introduced for the lead. And that sound is very authentic. It sounds like this. It fills up the lead, and it makes this kind of feeling that there's something happening. It's just not the drop going on and on and on, and there's nothing happening. Together it sounds like this. Yeah, very, very nice, and it fills up the track. You might ask me why I did not have that sound from the beginning, and I did decide whether I should have it or not when I made the song, but I thought like if I would put it from the beginning, then the drop would be too boring and long, because then there would not be anything happening. So I'd rather have it a little bit thin here in the first part to then get fat and more Tim vibe after half of it. So that's why I kept it until the second part. And that's basically what we have. Then, of course, we have here these little things. Let me see. No, I don't really know. Yeah, probably some bypass sounds. It was a bit... it was some time ago when I checked it. So that's basically it. And for the second build-up, it's just the same. The only thing is that I added a clap. So it's a drop clap. And together they make up this really cool and fat drop clap sound. Very important. And yeah, I've added a fill in the second drop here. It sounds like this. And it makes it more interesting. And there's something happening here as well compared to the first one. We have not really checked how the chords progress, and I can go through that a bit. As I told you, it starts with a regular B that works up to F flat, but after half of the drop in the part here, it actually starts on the G, just a regular G flat here. So it goes to the G flat, from G flat up to B between A flat after half of it. So then it makes the entire track more interesting. And together with the lead that evolves from this one into this one, it makes the entire drop more interesting. And that's basically something that Tim did in this song. So I just copied it, and I wanted to keep the most of his ideas in this track. So we can go through it and listen to it. So you get the point. And finally here, the drops comes a third time, actually, in the second drop. There are only 2 drops, but it plays a third time in the second drop. And before that, we have the same effect here as in the build-up, where we have the high-pass filter and the reverb. Not on every element, but at least for some of them. For example, the lead, I'd say. Now it's a bit hard for me to know exactly what filter plays exact the things, but basically it has a high pass filter on together with a reverb. You can tell it here. And it's very important as well, because songs such as Wake Me Up has this cool effect in it throughout the song, not only in the build-up. As you could tell there, and the guitar. But then I paused the guitar here to make more space for the other thing, and then the lead. But in this case, the lead stays the same, but the guitar, the piano, plays this reverb and high pass thing. And then we do the same as before the drop. We have this bass drop with the oscillator together with the crash and the fill. It's just there, it's not too obvious, but it wraps the song around in a good way. The down filter just plays the same. It's basically the drop going once again, to then evolve and finish with this one. In this case, I had 2 notes for the lead, together with. So together. Makes the ending a bit more interesting, I'd say. Of course, I could have kept it like this. Sorry. But it would not be too interesting. And that's basically what we have to work with the drop. It's not more complicated than this, actually. There are not like 100 elements and 100 instruments. There are only like 3 different sounding styles. And the elements, the percussions, isn't too many as well. Everything is available in the description, the samples and everything. But, of course, music production is not just with layering this, musical puzzle. That's 50%, but the other 50% is the mixing. And that's what I will go through in the next episode. I will share some of my mixing techniques, my tips and tricks, not only for the team sort of tracks, but just in general, because I know a lot of you have wanted that, and I feel like this series would not be complete without giving you the other half of the music production, so to speak. So you can look forward to that when it will come. If you have any questions about this, well, just write to me. I'll be happy to answer you as soon as possible. If you have any thoughts on this track in general, or give me some feedback on the tutorials, I'll be happy to read it and respond to it. We'll see where we will end up. I have a pretty much complete idea of another series that I will work on, and we will see what we will end up to. So that's basically it for today. Now please subscribe and like this video and let me know what you think, and I will be happy to release the other parts very soon. Until that, please take care.